Let us go to the phone lines and say hello to James Vick. James, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, James. I really appreciate you doing this. I know it's been somewhat of a difficult time, and I appreciate how open you've been about it on social media. Sometimes people just disappear, but you've really worn your heart on your sleeve, and I think that is something that I think the fans can really appreciate, and I certainly do as well. Could you tell us what are we, around 9 days or so removed from the fight? What has this been like for you, this experience?
Honestly, it's been depressing, man. It's very depressing. Honestly, I still don't know what to say about a lot of it. Honestly, I got caught. I got caught, and I just the only thing I thought in my mind when everything happened, as I went back and I remember I had a towel over my head and I was crying, and my coaches and my teammates, were there, talking to me, trying to calm me down, and I was just like, I f***ing blew it. That's what I thought in my mind. I blew it, and it's a hard one to swallow, because you never know when you're going to get those opportunities again, and especially someone like me, someone who had to win twice as many fights as most people to even get that opportunity, and then I had to, I understand, a lot of the fans and stuff, were happy to see me lose because I talked a lot of shit, and, I can't, be mad at them for feeling that way, because I did talk a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't have got the fight if I wouldn't have talked, I wouldn't have got that fight. Gaethje was the only top 10 guy that would agree to fight me, and I got that fight because Iaquinta got hurt or pulled out or whatever, or I wouldn't have had it. So I just, and I can't be mad at anybody but myself. I blew it, and that's just how I feel. It's very depressing feeling.
Some people, including Gaethje, have noted that you looked scared, you looked tentative, you didn't seem like yourself. Is that accurate? Did you feel more nervous as you were walking out? Did the main event get to you? Did you overthink it? Are these people who are insinuating what was going through your mind, are they onto something?
Not at all. Not at all, man. And that's crazy you say that because I thought I heard Gaethje say on an interview that he thought he saw that I was 100% confident. Honestly, Ariel, I've never been so confident in my life. I've never been so relaxed in my life. I don't understand what anybody was seeing and saying that. I really don't. I saw the commentators after the fight. I saw, the post-fight show, Kenny Florian, and them saying I looked nervous. I was not nervous at all. I have no excuses, man. I'm not, a bitch dude who makes excuses. I got knocked the fuck out. I got caught, but I was 100% healthy. I was confident as could be, and I wasn't nervous at all. Like not even I was probably less. I don't get that nervous anyway. As it is, y'all see me when I come to the ring. I'm smiling. I'm happy. I'm like a little kid because I love my job. I love being a UFC fighter, and I couldn't believe when I watched after the fight how everyone really, maybe they're just looking for answers of why I got caught or whatever. I don't know. The answer is, Justin Gaethje did what he did, and he was the better man that night, and he caught me, but that wasn't the case at all. I've never been so relaxed in my life for a fight, to be honest with you, and so confident.
The quote from Justin last week on the show was, quote, "I couldn't wait to see the look of death on his face. He was so terrified, and I loved it." That was his. So it sounded like he was insinuating that you looked scared before the fight.
I heard an interview after. I thought that that he said. I heard him say, Vick was very confident or whatever, and that's cool. I don't have any remorse against Justin Gaethje for saying those things. I talked a lot of. Granted, he talked some too. At the press conference and stuff that we had, I didn't initiate that talk. He initiated that, and I felt like I got the better of the press conference. But I just said, John Morgan asked me a question, I answered it, and then he started popping off, so I rebutted back. But I did, I talked a lot of shit, but I honest to God, in my mind, still, whether I'm wrong or right, I wouldn't have got that fight if I wouldn't have talked all that shit.
Yeah.
Me being a good person and a good guy who's always been quiet. And I've never, a lot of people are like, oh, you got humbled, now you're being nice and post after. When have I ever disrespected an opponent after I beat them? When I beat Joe Duffy, I took a picture with him and was 100% respectful. I'm not disrespectful, but my path is a lot harder than a lot of these guys. And, it doesn't make it right. It's not fair, but life ain't fair, and at the end of the day, I f***ed up. You take a guy like look at Poirier, for example, Ariel. And I know, with me and you talked and we text and everything, and you said, you're a main event, you don't go back from here. But I wish that was the case. I really do wish that was the case, Ariel. But like you take a guy like Dustin Poirier, for example, and I would, I'm not trying to discredit him. What he's did with his career is phenomenal. He's came back, revived his career, and he deserves all the success he has. I've never talked. He's one of the few guys that I've always respected and never did. I've called him out to try to fight, obviously, but I've never disrespected the guy or anything like that. But you take a look at a couple years ago, he beats Michael Johnson. And he fights Michael Johnson and gets knocked out in the first round just like I did, gets slept. And then he turns around, he wins one majority decision against Jim Miller, and then he gets to fight two former world champions back-to-back. That will never happen for me. I'm not delusional, because at the end of the day, I don't have the name that he has. He came from the WC, has a bigger name. And, I'm not 5'9". I'm a 6'3" lightweight that people don't want to fight. And I blew it. I can't blame nobody but myself, but I have 3 fights left on this new deal. I could win all 3 of these fights, and it's still going to be hard to get someone ranked above me to fight me. I'm not going to get that opportunity. Anthony Pettis is 3-5 in his last 8 fights, literally 3-5, and beat one guy in the top 15. Now he's fighting the number 1 contender. I'm not going to get those opportunities, man, and it's depressing because I didn't lose any confidence in myself as far as me being able to beat these guys. Like I said, I have 3 fights left on this deal. I'm not getting cut from the UFC. I'm not worried about that. But I said my standards are higher than that, man. My goal is to be a world champion. It's always been to be a world champion. I'm 9-2 in the UFC. I've been in the UFC for 6 years. Most people would consider that a phenomenal career. Well, if I'm not a champion, to me that don't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be hard for a guy to get to these guys to agree to fight me. Because I don't have the name. And I've showed, besides getting caught with a couple overhands, I haven't showed a lot of vulnerability in my fights. So I get it, and it's a depressing feeling being in this position because I had that opportunity and I blew it, man. And I can't blame anybody but myself.
So it sounds to me, James, and again, I really appreciate the honesty. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I appreciate where you're coming from. It's not so much the loss that bothers you, it's what's to come. You are afraid that this loss is going to bring you all the way down, back the ladder, and you are afraid that you are not going to get another chance in the main event because of one singular loss. Is that accurate?
100%, or just not. Like I said, it's not even about being a main event. It's about the pursuit of being a world champion, man. My standards are higher than a lot of these guys. They're happy being 2-2 and just being in the UFC and telling people, and I'm not trying to disrespect those guys. They are who they are, but I am who I am. This is crazy. I'll think about this. If I don't get, and this. Like I said, I can't blame anybody but myself. I'm not sitting there complaining. It's not my team's fault. It's not my coaches, my training partners. They didn't let me down. I let them down, and I win these next 3 fights, Ariel, and I still don't get a top guy to fight me, and I win the next 3 fights. I'm 12-2 in the UFC and still haven't got beaten a top 10 guy. That's unheard of. That is unheard of. If I win these next 3 fights, I'm 12-2 in the UFC. Most people 12-2 in the UFC have fought for a world title probably multiple times. That's unheard of. But at the end of the day, I screwed myself. That's how I feel. I'm not down at myself as far as my skill set. I'm not questioning myself. I'm probably about to have to fight another whole nother row of killers like I already have. And you know what? Fuck it. Line them up. I ain't afraid of nobody. But what's depressing to me is, the opportunity that I blew. Because I can win these 3 fights, and I might not be any closer to becoming a champion than I am right now.
Why?
Even with 3 more wins.
But James, why do you not believe that you're not going to get that? Why do you feel like the UFC isn't going to reward you for stepping up? Why do you feel like they're never going to give you another chance because you lost 1 fight? As you said, many guys have lost in the main event.
It's not the champion. Like I said, it's not even the main event. It's the fact that these guys don't want to fight me, man. They don't. They got any. First of all, people that are ranked in the top 10. They don't want to fight people that are ranked below them anyway, and they definitely don't want to fight a 6'3" lightweight that really hasn't showed a lot of vulnerability. Besides getting caught with a couple of overhands, I haven't shown a lot of vulnerability, and they don't want to fight me as it is. And it's like, I was so close to being in that group where basically these dudes are grandfathered in. Like right now, my only optimism, for people is like the only guy right now I see in the top 10 that could be my saving grace is if I could get Edson Barboza to agree to fight me, because he is on a 2-fight losing streak and he's still ranked number 6 in the world. If I could get that fight and win that fight, I would be in. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I talked about this before. It's like once these guys once these guys get deep in the top 10, 7, 8, 6, whatever, it's like they're grandfathered in. The dude's lost 2 fights in a row, still ranked 6. Gaethje, before my fight, had lost 2, still ranked number 7 in the world. Michael Johnson had lost 3 out of 4 fights before he fought Gaethje, was still ranked in the top 10, because it's like once you get in that group, you're like grandfathered in, where you can take L's amongst each other. But I just feel like I'm not in that group. I mean, I pray that I am. I pray that I can win 1 fight, maybe 2, and get another guy. But I just don't see any of those guys that are going to agree to fight me that are ranked above me. I don't see it.
Have you watched the fight again?
Oh yeah, 50 times already.
And do you think is it just one of those, I got caught? Gaethje spoke last week, improved footwork, patience, was waiting for the right moment. In your opinion, your theory, why did you get caught so early?
I got caught. See, what's crazy is him saying that he felt like I was, or whatever you said, that I was unconfident or nervous or whatever. You know what I felt in there? I'll be honest with you. With him, I felt him unconfident. When I hit him with that jab and the side kick and everything, I felt like, and I landed that body kick, and I know that body kick hurt him, and he said it hurt him a little bit. I felt like he was like, not that he was scared, never that, he's a warrior, but I just felt like he was like thinking, like he was kind of like confused about what he was going to do, and maybe I felt that wrong, or whatever. But what happened basically for me is I got too close to the fence, and I let my back get too close to the fence, and I got caught. And that was something. What's crazy is that was something I never anticipated would be a problem, because I knew his game plan was going to be to put me against the fence. I heard Trevor Whitman in an interview saying, "Oh well, we don't expect to beat Vick in the middle of the ring. We're gonna put him on the fence and do our work." And I knew that was going to be the plan. But in all my fights, I've always rode that cage. I was taught to ride that cage. And when I was my time on the Ultimate Fighter, Dominic Cruz, at that time, my grappling wasn't, at the level it is now. And Dominic Cruz, his system, we did cage work like 3 days a week in the Ultimate Fighter, and we would always do tons of cage work. And it was always, if you ride close to the fence, it's the anti-wrestler. You can get up anytime you want if you know how to use that fence. And throughout my career, I've always did that, and nobody's been able to hold me down. And I've never had a problem of being too close where I've gotten caught with a shot like that. And I really, that's obviously my misjudgment and mistake. I never anticipated that would even be a problem. I knew that he was going to do that, and I thought that I would be perfectly fine being close to the fence, and it didn't turn out that way.
You posted on social media afterwards a picture of both of you together and saying to people it was the worst day of your life and thanking Justin and almost. You're talking about the trash talk. I think you have nothing to apologize for. Everyone does. It's a part of the game, and like you said, you had to do it to get the fight. But what did you guys talk about? What advice did he give you?
Well, he was. He was a cool dude. Honestly, when we, they made me go to the hospital, gave me a CT scan. Everything was good. We came back to the hotel about it was probably 3 a.m, and he was there with his family in the lobby, and he was a little tipsy already. So he was, it was pretty funny. He was a cool dude, very respectful. I shook his hand, gave him a hug, and he was like, it happens. He's like, this whole game, he was basically like, this whole game is all luck. It could have been me. He's like, you did deserve this opportunity. He's like, a lot of this is politics, and you did deserve this opportunity with the records you had and everything. He's very nice and supportive and everything, and I told him, hey man, I really do appreciate the opportunity. You're the only guy that would agree to fight me, and I honest to God really do appreciate it.
You called it the worst day of your life. Did you mean professionally or period? That was the worst day of your life?
I know a lot of people, I get that, everyone's like, oh, if you lose a fight, that, your life is pretty easy if that's the only thing. But, I get people have terminal illnesses. There's people with real problems in the world. But when you invest your entire life in this, I started this game late. My entire adult life. I didn't start training until I was 20 years old. So for me to be able to catch where I'm at now, for me to be able to catch these guys that I've caught, I've had no life for the last 10 years, none whatsoever. Like I haven't drank alcohol in 2 years. It's not that I'm opposed to drinking it, but I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party. I've literally had no life for the last 10 years. This has been 11 years. This has been my entire life because I had to make it this way to catch guys that have been wrestling since they were 5 years old and to catch this stuff. And I've skill set. I have caught these guys, and I've proved that with my previous wins. A lot of these guys I beat have literally been training 10 years longer than me. So I didn't have that option. I've had no life. This is I don't have a plan B, and I mean, it's not like I said, it's not like you said, it's not like my career is over, and I'm not unconfident in myself in any aspect. It's just I'm unconfident in the opportunities I'm going to get from this point forward, and I can't blame anyone but myself. But yeah, it's one of the worst days, probably one of the worst days of my entire life, because when you stake your entire existence on something and this happens, it's devastating, man. It really is.
You have lost once before in the UFC. It was in similar fashion. You rose up. You climbed the ladder. Was that climb back, from UFC 199 so exhausting that, do you feel like it's just too much to do all over again? Because you did it once before. Why can't you do it again?
Not at all. I don't feel like it was exhausting because I love doing this. I wake up every day. I was back in the gym on Wednesday, and that's not because I lost. It's because, even when I win fights, I'm back in the gym 2, 3, or 4 days later. I love this. It's not the climb's exhausting. It's that I'm older. The UFC did. I was 5-0 at one point. It's like 27 or 28 years old, and the UFC didn't want to promote me then. Why the fuck would they do it now? Especially I did all this begging and basically had to cry damn near to get this opportunity, and I blew it. I'm going to get the opportunity again, but it may be another 2 years. You know what I'm saying? And I'm 31. I'm not old, and I feel young, and I started late, so I'm not. It's not like I'm all messed up in the body or anything like that. Like I'm good to go, and I've never lost my passion. But it's harder when I think you got other guys that do deserve opportunities. These other guys coming up, they deserve opportunities as well. I'm not hating on them or acting like I'm, more privileged or whatever. I mean, I do have double the wins some of these guys have in the UFC, but if you win 4 or 5 fights in a row, you deserve an opportunity too. I'm not hating on that. It's just, I just don't see an avenue where one of these guys is going to fight me. One of these guys ranked above me is going to fight me again. I'm going to win these 3 fights on this contract, and they're still going to be like, he's still never he's never beaten a top 10 guy. Every time he does, he blows his opportunity or whatever. And to this point, they're right. So, I understand their logic in thinking that, but I mean, at the end of the day, I win these 3 fights. I'm literally 12-2 in the UFC. And, and going to be the only guy in history of the thing that hasn't beat a top 10 guy with a record like that, And we're in the deepest division in the world.
You talked to anyone at the UFC since the fight? Did they say anything about your future, what they want next for you? Any conversations between you, your management, UFC?
Yeah, I text Sean Shelby, and I said, man, Sean, I blew it. I blew it. I'm sorry, but I really do appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for giving me that main event. I appreciate it. And he said, he basically texted back. He said, everyone loses, James. He's like, I'll get you another fight, and so you can get this taste out of your mouth. And he said, I appreciate you promoting the fight the way you did and making people want to tune in and watch it.
All right.
And then I said thank you. And then I had talked to him. I saw Paul Felder said he wanted to fight before the end of the year's up in December. I guess he said in Milwaukee where I guess where he does his training camps and everything. And and then he posted it later on Twitter, and I replied to that. I said, I'll take the fight with you. I feel like I at least owe you that option if you want it, because I did pull out. Granted, anybody would have pulled out for a main event, but I figured I'd give him the chance or whatever. But he hasn't even replied. And if he don't want the fight, then I'm not whatever. I'm not gonna talk crap to get it. I was just gonna offer it because I did pull out on short notice like that, and then he ended up taking a fight and breaking his arm, and circumstances changes for both of us. But I mean, I would love to fight him by the end of the year. I would love to fight Essa Barboza. I would love to fight him and get another chance at someone at the top. I mean, I would love to. But if I got to fight everybody ranked right below me, or whatever, I ain't scared of nobody. I'm not running. I'm going to do whatever is best and whatever options I can get, but for career-wise, but I mean, I ain't afraid of nobody, so line them up, what the f*** ever,
Hang in there, James. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you wearing your heart on your sleeve. I appreciate how honest you are about everything. Try not to be so hard on yourself, because I do believe that you're right in that mix, and one loss should not, erase everything you did to get to this point. So again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being such a great sport about it all and being so candid. And honestly, try not to be so hard on yourself. You're in this sport, fans. One thing I've learned is that they have such great short-term memories. You get one big win, everyone forgets about the last one. So do not worry about it. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support you always give me, man. Thanks.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.